Hi. In this video we're going to do some examples working with the Junos permission and user model. So basically, let's imagine that we want to do two things. So we want to use one of the default classes in the Junos system for a particular user. For example, let's say we want to use the read-only class for a user that we might give to some department so they can actually check the status of our network devices. Maybe we want them to check counters or check things of that nature, statistics on their devices, but they can't see anything else. They can't see the configuration, they can't modify it, they can't do anything else. And the other example we're going to work on is more of a custom class. We're going to create a custom class. Imagine we have a team that does operations, and their job is basically consists in provisioning interfaces or configuring interfaces and deleting interface configuration. So we want them to be able to see only the configuration that's relevant to the interfaces. I want them to be only able to touch that info. So basically to add and delete configuration under the interfaces and related to interface control. So let's see this on the router. So we're here on router 1. So show configuration, see what we have. So we have static routing, we have some interfaces, my lab user, SSH. We don't have anything related to classes or other than that my lab user is in the class super user, which means he can do anything. Okay, so we go into configuration. Let's go into system login and let's create a user. Let's call it view. You can call it whatever you want, but let's call it view. And class, if we use a context-sensitive help, we can see what classes are predefined by the OS. We can see the operator class, we can see the read-only class, super user, unauthorized. So let's say that the one that fits most of our needs is the read-only one. So let's use that one. And let's do some authentication. Let's add a password. Let's say 1234556 dot. And we can see our changes doing show compare. And we can see that we have created a user called view that's in the read-only class and has this password. So let's see it in action. Let's do commit and quit. Let's log out to the device and let's log back in with that particular user, and let's see how the router looks from his perspective and see that it matches our needs and our requirements. So the commit successful, so I'll exit, we'll go view, we put in our password, we log back in. There's a very interesting command to check what authorization you have, which is show CLI authorization. So let's do that and see our info here. So our info here, we can see that the system is telling us that we're the user view, that we're in the class read only, and that we have the permission flags of view, which mean that we can view current values in statistics. So we can do things like show interfaces, or show interfaces and the interface number, and to see the different values we have there. But if we, for example, show configuration is not included here, so if we do show configuration, we'll see access denied everywhere. So, for example, let's do show configuration. You see that we see access denied for everything. But if we do something like show interface CM5, we'll be able to see values here. So, a very quick example on how fast we can actually just use one of the predefined classes to limit what a user can do on our device. So let's log back out and log as my lab user and create a custom class with the particular permissions or particular flags, so it allows us to have a user only able to touch the interface configuration. So we log out, we log back in as log. So configure, let's go to system login. And now, before we create the user, we'll need to create a custom class let's create a class called operations, and let's specify what permission flags we'll use. So let's use a context-sensitive help. Let's open a bracket. So what are our requirements? So first one, we need this class to be able to go into configuration mode. So we use the configure flag. You can see it there. We also need this class to be able to view things like values, so show interfaces, because if they're going to be doing operations, they're going to need to verify after the day provision interface comes back up. It comes up and it works properly, or after they delete it or disable it, that it's down and it's not passing traffic anymore. So let's add the view flag there. So what else do we need? We need them only to be able to do commands and to see the configuration of the interfaces. So let's use the interface control flag. No, network interface control. So we close bracket. So we create a custom class called operations, which has the permission flags of configure, interface control, and view. So now that we have the class in place, we need to create a user for this that's using that class. So let's create a user. So we're going to create a user called, let's say, op. I'm going to put it on class operations, which is the one we just created. And let's put authentication plain text. Let's give it a password, saying password 123456 dot 123456 dot. So now we create a custom class, we create a user that's in that particular class. So let's do a show compare and see our changes. So we can see here our new class, the different flags for that class, a user call up that belongs to the class operations, and that it has a password. So let's commit this configuration and try it out and see that we're getting the correct result that works as expected. So the commit is complete, so let's log out and log back in with the op user. So we have the op user. Let's do a show configuration. You can see a very interesting thing, which is that here we're getting basically, the user doesn't see not even the version of the device, doesn't see anything on their system, it only sees interfaces. So let's do show CLI authorization. Again, similar output that we saw before. Now obviously it's telling us that our user is called up, that we're in a class called operations, and then we have this permission flag. So you can actually see right off the bat that you will be able to enter configuration mode, you will be able to modify interface configuration, you'll be able to see values and statistics. So if I go into configuration mode and I do a set, I'll be able to see what I can actually configure. So let's configure an interface. So let's go EM3 family init address. Let's use a random address. Let's say all 200s /24. So show compare, and let's commit that. So it's going to do checks and it's going to exit back to operational mode. And if we do show configuration, we can actually see it now, and we can do show interface curves. We'll be able to see it there as well. And basically, we're achieving the purpose that we needed, which was a class that allows users only to see the configuration, modify it, but nothing else. So basically, to sum up, we created a simple user using one of the predefined classes. We created a custom class. We added the permission flags that we needed to fulfill our particular security policy. We created a user that it's in that particular class, and we have seen on the actual device how it works. So it's a very flexible and a very useful feature to have, and it's very interesting, and it allows us to regulate our permission in our devices as needed. So very useful stuff. Thank you.